So I launched on Product Hunt, and the day of the launch, I actually only got 75 users, right?
Wow.
Which that's not bad. That's not bad. But the next day, actually, I got 568 new users. Then the day after that, I got 679 users. And then the next day I got another almost 600 users, then 400, then 200, 200, 400, 800, 300, 1200, right? So these are extra users that I'm adding every single day.
Damn. Hey, Akshat, thanks for taking the time to do this interview. I'm super excited to have you on. We've been friends since our days going to school in Silicon Valley, where you ended up actually dropping out and making a lot more money than our entire friend group. We'll get into that more in a bit. I'm sure everyone's excited to hear about it. But I know you recently launched a product and you've seen some good success. You're doing a lot in the developer space, and I thought you'd be a great person to introduce and share some knowledge with the Ambitious Labs community. So thank you for joining, and I'd love to have you introduce yourself.
Sure. Thanks for having me, Alim. I know it's been a minute. So I'm Akshit Giri. I'm a software engineer, and I've been in the tech world for the past decade or so. Like you said, got into Facebook when I was 18. Before that, I was in college in San Jose State and working at a bunch of startups, had some of my own projects, and just trying to live the Silicon Valley dream, which was, make a startup. Now it's worth $1 billion, and it's all hunky dory from there. But I decided to go a different route and just get a job at Facebook to see how a large company works, to be around really cool, smart engineers and just some of the smartest people in Silicon Valley.
Yeah. Is it true? Like, does everybody in Silicon Valley like have a startup idea or they're working on something? Like, was it what you expected when you were going to school in the Valley?
100%. I mean, if you talk to anybody in Silicon Valley, it's all about work, work, work. What are you building? Where are you trying to go? What's your ambition? So, I definitely was inspired by that.
Yeah. I know like our entire friend group had projects they were working on, and that's I think one of the reasons we bonded so well. But no, cool, man. It's been like 6 years since we graduated college. A lot's happened. Yeah. Most recently, I think you launched an AI powered product, and I would love to talk about that. Can you tell us a bit about the product that you launched?
Sure. I launched an app called Kai Keyboard AI, and the domain is actually trykai.app, so you can go and download the app from there. But I got this idea early January, and I decided to make it. But what I essentially wanted to do was access the ChatGPT straight from my keyboard. So before ChatGPT had an app, you had to go to the browser, log in every single time, and then you had to like type in what you're trying to say, give it instructions, then it would respond back, copy the thing, take it back to Message or Instagram or whatever app you were trying to use it in, and then paste. And that was a really long process. And I wanted to just have a keyboard built right into my keyboard where I could just ask it something, switch keyboards, and just say, hey, this is the prompt, and I'll give me the response. And I tap and just input it. It fills the input automatically, right? So that's a way snappier user experience where AI is built right into your keyboard. And before that, my experience with building apps was mostly in React Native and Flutter and Ionic. So a lot of these cross-platform frameworks. But this time, something like this, which was really close to iOS APIs, like lower level, you have to build right into the keyboard. I had to learn Swift and get into Xcode and all that stuff.
So like most people sleep on these like sub app categories or like the categories of apps like Chrome extensions and keyboard apps and like widgets. Even like Apple TV apps are like a highly slept on category that people are making a ton of money from. Obviously, you built an app for keyboards. Do you have a unique insight? Like, are people actually downloading keyboard apps? Like, what got you excited about dedicating like, a few months of time into a keyboard app?
Yeah, I think people sleep on these small little widgets and tools like Chrome extensions and even like Shopify apps or anything that's within a certain platform or something very specific, because they're essentially utility tools, and everybody wants utilities in their life to make their lives easier. So instead of building a totally new platform or company or app, you can integrate yourself into a smaller space
Yeah,
and own that space. And people are happy to pay for these utilities.
for sure. For sure. I mean, we like to say like small products in big markets or like big products in small markets where like,
Hmm.
how much were you charging for Kai.ai? Did you have a subscription set up?
Yeah, I had a subscription set up somewhere around $7 a week.
Okay. Damn.
Yeah.
$7 a week. That was your only subscription?
There was another one, $40 a year. So
Okay.
quite a big discount, but I'm happy with that.
Right on. I know that like the $40 a year is sometimes like favorable, so you don't have to like deal with, people churning and dealing with like subscription renewal rates, stuff like that. So
Yeah,
it's a really smart strategy. But yeah, I mean like, yeah, if you're doing, $40 a year and your market size is every single iPhone user, uh, you now have a huge TAM or total available market, right? And so even if
hmm
you can capture like at $40 a year, 1,500 or say 150,000 users, you're looking at a cool like 6 million a year.
absolutely.
Um, so like that's just one small example, but like the same thesis applies. Like big products, small markets, and a lot of people are sleeping on this. We actually just let somebody into the Dreams and Apps program this morning, who's working on a Chrome extension in Flutterflow, and I didn't even know that you could build Chrome extensions in Flutterflow. But I guess it all boils down to Dart, anyways, right? Like Dart
Yeah,
is built by the Chrome team or something at Google, and so it seems like those APIs might be optimized for like Chrome extensions too. Which actually brings me to my next point. Like you were the one in college who put me on Flutter. Like I remember you showing me the Google documentation when I was like working on, I forgot what I was working on. I think I was just writing regular React, and you put me on Flutter in college, and I was like, no, shot. Like that's just like another, hybrid language. It's not really going to go anywhere. But then Flutter has just completely blown up since then.
absolutely.
Um, what got you excited about Flutter? Like, in college when you were the first one building apps in Flutter.
Man, I've always been interested in like brand new tech and see what's going on. I like to keep myself to fundamentals, but always have an eye on what's going on at the top because there's
Yeah.
always exciting stuff, and it helps you figure out what is wrong in the current quota. Like, what's the word? What's wrong currently, right? What problems are we trying to solve, and why those problems exist? So it actually helps you understand the fundamentals better. But ultimately, what got me into Flutter was some of the great talks from Google developers. And I'd already known about React Native and working with Ionic to make some apps. My app was called Contact at the time, which was an easy way to share contact with each other using QR codes. And now you see these ads all the time where people have these cards you can tap and share your
Yeah.
contact info. And we were early to QR codes because QR codes are now built into all iPhones. We knew about this right when QR codes came into iPhone cameras in like the first software update. We were like, okay, this is going to be huge. But
Yeah.
that's what made me look into Flutter and see if Flutter was going to go somewhere. And just based on the technology, I knew that it was going to be really exciting, just based on how they were building it.
Did you expect Flutter to like blow up this much to the point where it's like a hardcore contender to React Native?
Uh, I mean, I think I thought had a lot of potential. Sorry, I thought it had a lot of potential mainly because it solved the fundamental problem with cross-platform applications, right? So in React Native or something like Ionic, you are writing code, but you don't know how it's going to look on both platforms until you test it. Or you
Mm,
don't know how it's going to look if you have a simulator running on web, because React Native can actually do web now, but you don't know if what you see on web is what you're going to see on iOS and Android. Whereas on
mm,
Flutter, you know you're going to get that seamless experience throughout.
yeah,
So I
makes
think
perfect sense.
that's where Flutter really shines.
Definitely. And you worked at Facebook. I don't think you ended up working at Google, right?
No.
But so you probably had like, I think you said you met somebody who was working on the React team back when you were working at Facebook, and you kind of had some insights into like what was going on in the React world.
Yeah, I pushed
But
to React Native too. I pushed a
is
commit in there.
and that like our program is primarily Flutter Flow, and I know that you just started your own training program too, training software engineers on how to become job ready. Is Flutter a job ready technology?
Yeah, absolutely. I
Do you
get
think
I get job requests for Flutter positions on LinkedIn.
like pretty often or just kind of passively?
Uh, a couple a month, I would say, at least.
Got you. So you'd say the market for learning Flutter is pretty big, and you can get a job by learning Flutter.
It's growing, I would say. Yeah, it's getting there. I think depends on the kind of spaces you work in. It's better for certain areas of development. So
Hmm.
if you plan on working on some of the most high growth startups or big tech companies, typically they're not using Flutter, at least in the Silicon Valley, right? But if you look at some of the companies um, that are more experience based, they want a really fluid experience, like the app they show off, which is the Hamilton app, right, all the time. And that's a very like experience based app where we want everything to be animated and nicely designed and all those things. For those things, it really shines. And some of the companies throughout the world, especially in India and Asia, even like South America, some of those companies are primarily using Flutter, and that's
Mm.
because it helps them. It's a better language for those developers to transition to, and they have a better development experience. So it's coming more and more to the US. Of course, those companies end up hiring in the US also.
Hmm.
So it's the market is actually quite broad. It's growing as the whole space grows. But I think Flutter has captured a pretty decent amount of market share.
Yeah, it seems that way. Um, so you're teaching, software engineers how to become job ready, and you became job ready without a computer science degree. Went off to
Hmm.
make good money, work at Facebook. I think you worked at Yahoo too, right? Um, and so you got into some pretty large companies in Silicon Valley. Like, do you think that it's possible to learn all the software engineering skills you need to get a job uh, by learning how to build full stack apps, say with Flutterflow, Firebase, Supabase, and like API builders like the ones that we're teaching about? Do you think if you learned all those skills, how to build a front end, how to connect to APIs, how to read API documentation, do you think that you could get all the skills to get a six-figure job?
Um, I think the fundamentals are the same, right? So yeah, if you learn how like HTTP works, get, post, those requests, those are going to help you. They're going to help you when you if you transition into becoming a developer for sure, right? Um, I'm not sure how much of the drag and drop tools that transfers over, uh, but as the orchestration of it, you'll have the same fundamentals as a developer. You'll know how to orchestrate all these different services together. But when you go into okay, now I want to go from drag and drop into like making my own components for this like Flutter app, that's going to be a new world for you.
Got you. But like knowing that Flutterflow, writes the code underneath the hood, you get access to the underlying code. Do you think that it could be used as a gateway for people to become Flutter developers?
Oh, certainly. Yeah. I think Thomas Frank recently released a video about his journey of becoming a developer. And one of the things that he mentions is actually how he didn't jump all the way in, right? He just learned some of the basics about a programming language and used a no code tool. And the no code tool he used is called Pipedream. So he started writing small little snippets alongside this no code tool, right? And that allowed him to get confident in his abilities to write larger uh, code snippets to
Yeah,
like put things together and do
I
custom
love it.
things. And then from there, he's like, okay, now I can jump into like some of the more advanced things where I'm building the entire architecture in the back end, right? So I think it's a great gateway tool and a way to learn
I
coding.
love it. And like I'm sure you train your students on this, but like incremental development, incremental testing, like don't make a shit ton of changes and then test it all at once. Like try to be incremental about it. And I think
Absolutely.
the same rules apply for sure. Really cool. Yeah, dope. So we've talked about, a bit about your app, a bit about the skills. I
I
guess
think
let's
let's
go
go
back
back
to
to the app. I
let's go
don't think
back
we
to the app.
covered. Yeah,
I'm
let's go
down.
back to the app.
Yeah, so you did a lot of cool stuff. I remember like during the AI boom, like I knew that you were gonna be working on an AI product. I knew all of our friend group was gonna try to cash in on the AI hype. So really cool to see you take a stab at it. Um, Yeah, kind of what was your thought process? Because I know you went head down. Like I didn't even talk to you for like 4 months. And then one day you came out of the water and you were like, I got this app, I'm live on Product Hunt, you know, and I think you announced your user count and you just kind of blew up. Like, so it seemed like an overnight success, but we all know as builders, like you're probably working your ass off 10 hours a day, just like shit. Once I get this off the ground, it's gonna print me money. Um, yeah, take me back to what it was like when you came up with that idea and you were, grinding mornings, nights, and weekends on it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was definitely quite a bit of work going in because I've always started like small projects, but by the time I get to the marketing of it, where I'm like, okay, this is a great project, I build the MVP, and by the time I get to the marketing, I'm already so burned out from the development process of it that I never get to put enough effort into marketing to have it blow up, right? So
Right.
I'm sure every developer or every person who has a lot of ideas has a lot of these small projects that they've made, but they've never really pushed it that hard. And what makes a product successful is actually the marketing end of it, right? There are very mediocre software companies out there that, from a software perspective, they're not that good, but their marketing is on point. Their design might be amazing, and that's what helps them with the bottom line. That's what helps them grow, right? Because they can take those uh, revenue streams that they have captured and then put it back into the product, and eventually the product will get significantly better.
Yeah.
So to start off, I mean, one thing I'm sure you talk about as well, which is you want to build a product that is useful to you, right? Which you resonate with. So this is a product, this is a need that I had. This is something I wanted for myself. And I knew if I wanted it, there were other people like me who wanted this as well. And that's how I decided to come up with this and just build it out.
Makes
Um,
perfect sense. So
Go
it's
ahead.
useful to you. You had this problem, but then like, yeah, I guess what was it like when you like did you have like a light bulb moment where you're like, shit, this needs to be a keyboard app. Like, let's build this. People will use it.
Yeah, I mean, I had been telling some of my friends that were like more newer software engineers in college or like just graduated. I was like, hey, you guys should go build this idea. Like, this would be a great project for you. This is not that complicated. You'll get to learn Swift, you'll get to learn app development, and you should just go build it. And
Yeah.
then nobody took that idea up, and I was like, okay, fine. Like, I guess I'll have to do it. There were some apps on the App Store that were actually kind of similar, but they weren't doing a good job. Their user experience weren't good. They wanted to take over my entire keyboard and wanted me to use the keyboard itself, right? So they wouldn't allow me to use all the nice features that the iOS built-in keyboard has, like swiping and really nice tactile touch. They wanted to take over that and have me completely use the keyboard for everything, which I was
Yeah.
not cool with. I was not cool with that at all,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So I just wanted something like a separate keyboard which would just give me a few options after I've written something with my base iOS keyboard. Switch over and just give me a few options as to what I want to do with that prompt that I've given.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I was like, okay, if nobody else is going to build this right, I'll go build this.
Hell yeah. So your differentiator was the UX. Like you realized that nobody had a good experience. There was a market for it. I
Yeah.
love that you didn't shy away from the competition. You saw there were apps out there, but instead of being like, nah, someone's already done it, you were like, no, what can I do to make it better?
Yeah.
Like, what are people saying about it? What unique insight do I have as a developer that can make me a better fit?
Absolutely.
That
I mean,
says
I
a lot.
always say this.
Yeah,
There's always room for the best,
absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
So
Um, and people resonate with different values and missions. And I mean, your product is a little bit different in that it's a piece of software, but like people have different tastes. So it's good that you were able to solve or at least serve a portion of that market. Okay, cool. So you build the app, excuse me, you build the software, you get it working, and you launch, and there's crickets. Or what happened? Like, what was your
Well,
launch
I
process
think
like?
there's something interesting about like the development process of it, right? So
Okay.
even as a developer, I knew that I didn't want to do what I had done for all the previous projects where I go heads down into development, and then by the end of it, I'm burnt out and I don't put any effort into marketing.
Okay.
So even though I'm a developer, I decided to actually hire an iOS developer on Upwork, right?
Okay.
And then paid him $40-50 an hour to like build this out for me.
Okay.
And as like, of course, I like went through the documentation. I learned Swift because after so many languages, it's easy to learn these languages. And I was very proficient in building this out, but I just didn't want to do that. And I wanted to do things in parallel. So I hired this developer on Upwork, and he was a decent developer, nothing crazy. I was looking through his code, and it was decent. It was a little bit extra, like it was it was like, where the separation of concerns is taken a little too far, where like there's a file for every little thing, and everything just kind of interacts with another function somewhere else, and it was just too bloated in my opinion. Everything could be condensed down to something far more efficient, but it was okay. It was getting the job done, and I think the total cost of the app was somewhere around 8,000, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, of course, because there's different features we added, we tried different things. There's the whole deployment process. So everything, it's not like he did everything. I think he did initially for the first version, 80% of the work. And my strategy for releasing the app was I'll release it with no payment. Like I won't charge for it, right? I just want to see how many people use it, right? And then I can slap on a subscription later on for version 2. Like we'll add some more features, we'll refine it, and then
were you doubtful? Like you didn't think people were going to pay for it, or you just didn't want to charge? What was it?
It was a proof of concept, as in like, how many people are actually interested in this.
Okay.
Right. And then based on that interest, the market's huge, right? So I'm not worried that the first 1,000, 2,000 users I get are not going to pay me. That's okay.
Sure.
I can monetize the rest of the 20,000 that are going to come in. Right.
Okay.
So I just want to see, first of all, if people download and use it, if they're interested in it. Secondly, how often do they use it? Or do they become super users? Or do they just use it once or twice just to check it out and then leave?
Yeah. So I did the same thing with Virally app too. Like, I go against my beliefs a little bit sometimes, but like normally I'm a proponent of always charging. Mm-hmm. But for Virally app, I put the app out there as well, just to see what the, engagement looked like. There are certain numbers where like you as a developer can like just kind of tell like, oh shit, those numbers look kind of good. Like 12% D1 retention, like, hey, like 30 downloads a day, like people clicking on my push notifications. You kind of just get this feeling of like, hey, this app has some legs. Like people are touching it, they're feeling it. And I'm sure you had that same type of like realization. And then you're like, shit, maybe it's time to slap a paywall on this. Mm-hmm. So take me to like when you start thinking about the paywall. Like what was that like?
Sure. So after we released the first version of it, I started doing some marketing around it, started, ranking in the iOS app store, getting some organic downloads. Then I started like telling more people about it. People started downloading it and playing with it, and I saw some traction there. So I decided to post it on Product Hunt, and there was a Product Hunt strategy where, like I started talking to people on Product Hunt beforehand, and then I was like, okay, great. So I'm going to post, and I posted on Thursday, I believe, Thursday or Wednesday, and started getting more likes, started getting more users, and the day I posted on Product Hunt, I have actually some numbers here I can pull up.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up Product Hunt as well. But before we go forward, do you mind like giving everyone a rundown? What is Product Hunt? I'm pulling you up right now.
Sure. Product Hunt is a place where people or companies post new software products or any kind of solution they've made, and there are daily people that are coming to the application to check out what's new, what's new out there, what's something cool that might be useful to them, right? So it's a great place to get eyeballs, where people are specifically coming to the application looking for new products, right? They're looking to engage with builders out there. They want to promote, and then for people that are building it, they can actually offer discounts to the people that actually found them on Product Hunt, because essentially it's free marketing for them. So it's a great way to put yourself out there and get some eyeballs. And I'm going to talk about something that actually happened because of Product Hunt. So great, I post on Product Hunt and I get a bunch of users and eyeballs through it. But then what people do, there's a ton of blogs and social media accounts out there that constantly talk about the new AI applications or whatever trend is going on, right? So they are looking for cool products to share on their newsletters, on their websites, on social media. What they do, they also come on Product Hunt looking for the same things, and then they shout out all these cool things that they found using their social media, right? So you get a first kick from Product Hunt, and then you get a bunch of small kicks from all the people that found your product on Product Hunt and decided to share it out to their audience.
Dope. That's super, super cool. You said you had some numbers. Are you able to share?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's see.
So I've been waiting to post like ambitious labs and dreams into apps on Product Hunt.
Yeah.
It's something that it does require some planning, right? You don't want to just do this like with half intention. You want to be intentional about Product Hunt. You want to follow up with the people, because it's kind of like Reddit, right? It's like people are coming for good products. They're coming to engage with not just the product, but they want to engage with you, Akshat. And I saw back on your product page that you were following up, writing really long responses to people. So when you launch on Product Hunt, people literally spend like a whole week planning this launch. They make sure that the graphics are good. Whoa, I didn't know you could do that. The graphics are good. The copy is correct. The website looks good. Everything's being critiqued because people on Product Hunt are like product enthusiasts. They know products and they know what's a good product. They know what's a rug pull. So you want to be very genuine, but it's a very open and comforting place. I don't want people to get discouraged, but you have to be intentional about it. So the reason we haven't launched Ambitious Labs on it is just because we've been super busy with other things. And we want to make sure that we can give any new leads or any new, engagements the right time that they need.
Yeah. And you can only really post once every 6 months, right?
Yeah.
For the same product at least. So you want to make sure that you can take the most advantage of it. And when people find you, they have a great experience, right? So I posted when I only had my V1, and I was confident that it was good enough to be able to get some traction and get some feedback of people, see what people are concerned about. People were concerned about privacy, but that was one of my pillars, that all these other companies, they're just looking to monetize you, but privacy is something that's important to me as well. So I'm not out here like taking your passwords and stuff like that. It's a very developer conscious product. Good. So here are some numbers. So I launched on Product Hunt, and the day of the launch, I actually only got 75 users, right?
Wow.
Which that's not bad. But I had a ton more. Like 500 plus website visits or something like that. But 75 users out of that. But the next day, actually, I got 568 new users. Then the day after that, I got 679 users. And then the next day I got another almost 600 users, then 400, then 200, 400, 800, 300, 1200, right? So these are extra users that I'm adding every single day.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So you went from 70 to hundreds a day every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Damn. And did you have your paywall functioning by this time? Were you making money off these new users? Damn. Okay. But at least you had some incredible data coming in.
Exactly. And I knew people were interested in this, and I had some analytics going. I'd released a small update with Amplitude Analytics. I don't know what kind of analytics Flutterflow offers, but Amplitude Analytics is what I used. It allows you to do very granular user analytics. So I can track the entire session of a user. Like they click this button, then they type this, then they press this button, then they canceled. So, and it's free. Like it's free. I knew I wasn't gonna go into their priced model, so I was perfectly fine with just the free model, right?
Yeah.
It's quite generous. So really good analytics tool, would recommend. And I was watching where the users are coming from. So 50% of the users were from the US and a bunch of English speaking countries, but the other 50% were actually from Russia. So what's interesting was happening was people were sharing this app in like Russian group chats, and they were like, oh, you can use this to translate from Russian to English, or like, so I had a huge Russian user base. And funnily enough, my developer was actually Ukrainian, I believe. So he knew some Russian and Ukrainian. So he added support for that. And people were like, the Russian users were reaching out to me saying like, hey, all these, because my prompt, the base prompt from OpenAI was in English. So even if they were
Okay.
writing Russian, the responses were typically in English. So we made
Oh, I
sure
see.
to convert the prompt in Russian as well. So they were having a good experience with Russian. I knew I couldn't really monetize the Russian user base, but I wasn't too worried. The OpenAI credits are quite cheap. So it was okay. Okay, for the next version, I actually was like, okay, we want to do this right. I wanted to give it a way better UI and onboarding experience because we were going to add that paywall, fix some bugs, release some features. So I actually developed the V2 version of the app. I didn't,
Okay.
yeah, because I was like, okay, 8 grand is good. Now we need to make some money. I can make these changes. I can like add the onboarding screens and stuff like that. So I dove
Yeah.
in, made the onboarding experience really nice, gave it a nice little UI, added the paywall using Revenue Cat. So I know you guys use
Oh,
that.
sick.
It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Revenue cat, baby.
Best way to do app monetization, hands down. And from there, it was good because now we were getting users in the US. I only ensured that the paywall screens came up in English speaking countries like US, Canada, and Europe because
Okay.
I hadn't localized prices yet throughout the world. So I was like, that's okay. I can, the English speaking countries, I can monetize at $7 a week or $40 a year. So I put that in. I got, started getting some people buying the app for the yearly plan actually. So the first few people that bought the app were yearly plans, and then some more people started buying the subscription. And
Sick.
then roughly had like 500-ish daily active users. Of course, not everybody was monetized because people that came in early, I didn't try to monetize on them right away.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, so we still have a bunch of daily active users.
That's awesome. Is it still making money today?
Yeah, it makes like $300-400 a month because, yeah, I
Sick.
stopped marketing it. Yeah, but it
Hell
still
yeah.
prints passive income. Yeah.
Passive 300-400 bucks a month, and you're stacking ARR. So 1 year, 2 years, 3 years goes by. Hopefully that's 20, 30, 40, 50K ARR. That'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah, that'd be
Um,
nice.
hell yeah, bro. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
And I'm sure,
I still think it has a lot of potential. The only reason I moved on was because I had better opportunities to pursue, right? But this is easily, I think, a 4 or 5K a month kind of product where if it was marketed right and
yeah,
on socials with organic traffic, there's a
vi-
lot to be done here.
viral
And
TikTok
maybe,
would go crazy. Like with like different use cases, like flirt with your girlfriend better,
yeah,
engage with your boss better,
yeah,
like little marketing schemes around like certain user personas, I think could
yeah,
do pretty good. That's
absolutely.
sick.
And it's pretty unique from the other tools out there, specifically because um, the things that I'm doing to make sure that I can get the entire text within the input that you have actually is very unique, and it's a new implementation because iOS only lets you grab a small snippet of your text input. So wherever your cursor is, it'll let you grab that sentence about like
Okay.
roughly just a sentence and like not the entire text. But I have a custom workaround to make sure that I can grab everything, right? So this actually
Sick.
is better than a lot of its competitors. It just needs the right marketing person to come in and like
Sick.
run with it.
Yeah, and I mean that's where like selling it could come into play, or potentially like looking for a marketing partner. Have you thought about either of those options?
Yeah, I'm open to like a marketing partner. I just don't know who would be a good person to partner with. So if you have somebody in your audience, feel free to reach out to me.
Yeah, that'd be dope. I think that's an easy, I wouldn't say easy, but that is a huge opportunity. Like product's already built, it's
Hmm.
validated. Someone who has good experience with TikTok, Instagram Reels, like product marketing could absolutely crush that. So yeah, that sounds awesome. Hope somebody does reach out. No, cool, Akshat. Have you thought about selling it?
Yeah, just don't want to go through all the work of selling it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Selling could be cool. I recently had some progress with my app virally on acquire.com. So just keeping fingers crossed there, hoping that transaction goes through, and I'll document the process, share it with you for sure. But so
Hmm.
far it's been kind of sweet. I've learned a lot about selling an app. It's kind of like you have to approach it like a funnel. You can't really just put it out there and expect someone to buy it like just off the surface. Like you have to really create a funnel of buyers, generate some demand for it, and approach it as if you would approach any product, really.
Yeah.
Because nowadays, like the pool of buyers for apps is huge. It's
Yeah.
not like 2000 Silicon Valley where only the big players are buying software. Now, someone like you, someone like me, the guy next door or woman next door who's got a little bit of a savings account can now buy, a revenue generating software product for low five figures, high four figures, right? And so the buyer pool of software is huge now. So it's important to, when you're selling an app, generate demand, but also funnel that demand. And that's something that I learned the hard way after like having Virally for sale for like 4 months. So
Hmm.
I'll definitely share some stuff on that. But
That's
that
awesome,
was
dude.
cool, man. Really cool. What's next for you?
Um, so the next thing I'm working on now is actually called Six Figure Dev.
Okay.
I'm helping software engineers break into the tech industry, right, and set them up for the rest of their career, right? Because what I see is a lot of software engineers are actually really good technically. They know their languages, their frameworks, and their tools really well, and they can spend a lot of time learning about that. But they forget
Okay.
that to get a job, what they really need is the right marketing and the right positioning for themselves, right? So they just try to throw out job applications out there without hearing back from recruiters, and then they get defeated, and then typically they'll say some stuff like, oh, the job market is bad, oh, like,
Yeah.
they're not responding, the companies are expect too much, there's too much competition out there, all these senior engineers this got fired, so they're in the job market, what chance do I have? When
For
that's just
sure.
not true. That how in demand software engineering is, right? There's still like 1.5 million unfulfilled technical jobs, and that's just the reported number. The actual number is probably somewhere around 5
Huge.
million
Yeah.
just in the US, right? So when there's so much demand and there's so many software engineers who are looking for a job, why can't they land those jobs? It's typically because of their positioning and their marketing. So I'm helping developers fix those things, show them how to go about the interview process, how to negotiate their pay. Yeah, that's the mission. And there's actually some really cool tech stuff I'm building around that as well.
Yeah. Dope. Uh, I think being job ready is something that's overlooked too. Like you're not doing C++ in most jobs these days. You're not doing Java in a lot of jobs. You are in some, but being job ready, learning the skills to be job ready, I think is extremely important. I think that's what you're doing best. That's what you know best. How to market yourself, how to position yourself, but also how to learn the job ready skills. Like what are companies hiring for? You don't have to be a wizard. You don't have to know algebra really well or calculus. Like that is a straight myth for most gigs in the front end or application development space. When you're talking about like machine learning, AI, data science, data analytics, yeah, you need to be a math whiz. But I think the niche that you and I are in is very much full stack application development where you need to have problem solving skills. And that's like no code too. You have to be able to solve problems and put pieces together, but you don't need to know calculus and crazy mathematics. Um,
100% agree. People think they have a higher barrier to entry than they actually do, right?
yeah,
If you can do the thing, and most importantly, if you're confident in your ability to figure things out, as software engineers, you're not going to know everything. The field is too large until you get to a way senior level. And what the expectation from you is that when you're put in those situations, you don't fall apart, you don't become anxious and like, keep go running to somebody else in your teammate. You're like, sit there, you're like, okay, this is the problem. Let me Google. Let me figure this out. Let me see
yeah,
what I can
keep
do
calm.
here. And that is actually the more important ability to have. Just the confidence in that I'll figure it out.
Yeah, hell yeah, bro. I guess like real quick, like what's the lifestyle like of, a tech worker who gets to have the freedom of working from home, being able to build projects on the side and try to make passive income. I know you invested in real estate really young. You invested in crypto really young. So yeah, like a little bit on the lifestyle of getting in early and building your legacy early would be awesome for the audience.
I think in the tech space, you have the ability to build the life that you want, right? You can put the pieces together, and initially it might not be perfect, right? So you might start with going to an office, you're working there, but as you get more leverage, as you become better, as you become more experienced, you get leverage to say, okay, I'm going to be remote. I'm not going to work with this company if I'm not remote. You get the leverage to say, this is the pay that I want. I want to be anywhere in the world. I don't want to be this specific place, right? So even though a lot of companies are remote, you still have to be in the US, right? But I don't have that. I can be anywhere in the world. I don't think I mentioned this, but I don't work at Facebook anymore. I work with companies and projects that I want to work at, right? So I get to go pick and choose what I want because of an abundance of opportunities and things that come my way. Or I can, when I go and I approach a company or approach a project, they really look at me because they're like, okay, this person is serious. Look at the background, look at the experience, look at the things this person's built. So that's all leverage, right? The lifestyle is very cool. Like I lived in San Diego for the past, for 2 years. I'm back in NorCal now, but living in San Diego was amazing. I'm sure you saw some of our stories. Maybe you can your video editor can put some of the stories from Instagram here. Yeah. So
cool.
I get to choose my friends. So some really amazing friends like you and Moimir and all these guys. And, we drive around fancy cars and go to restaurants and bars and clubs. And that was really fun. But I live my life like at 6 months or a year. Like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to focus on for the next 6 months to a year. And for like 2 years ago, that was, okay, I'm going to go really focus on dating and partying and really experiencing the world. And I had the opportunity and the flexibility to do that while working remotely and making a bunch of money. And now I've decided, okay, now it's time to focus down and build something really cool, help people, and really go to the next level. And then we'll go enjoy life again. So that's my balance where I go all in and then I go all in on fun, right? So work hard, party harder type stuff.
I love that, bro. That's fantastic. Yeah. A lot of our friends from Silicon Valley, all of them are doing really awesome things. I wish that everyone who is interested in building could experience the Silicon Valley life, but it's cool what we're doing. We're trying to make this lifestyle of being a builder, working remote, building technology products accessible to anybody in the world. So you don't have to be in the Valley anymore. The Valley is I wouldn't say it's overrated, but it's not needed. So it's cool that we're able to take these skills, bring them to other people through your academy, through Ambitious Labs, and help more people do what we do. So
absolutely. Yeah, where do you think, I've got a question for you. Where do you think AI is going next? Where do you think,
bro?
Yeah.
It's only innovating extremely faster than we know. Mm-hmm. It's being trained on more and more data. More and more developers are building apps on top of it. The models are training other models, which are training other models. And I think Moore's Law may become invalidated because of how much faster than Moore's Law it's going to grow. Mm-hmm. So for those of y'all who don't know Moore's Law, it's the rate of innovation, I think it's actually literally the number of capacitors and resistors on a chip will double over time. But I think the same law applies to innovation as well. Something like that. Where is it going next? It has to be regulated. Someone has to step in. I don't trust any government.
Sure.
But someone's going to have to step in. Who knows who the hell it's going to be? But, artificial intelligence warfare, speech to voice warfare, people instigating like cyber attacks, like it can get really bad. But I also think like the rate at which it can help the world will be impressive too, where like more and more products can be built that help people streamline their tasks. I think it's great for business. I think it's great for introducing like efficiencies in people's life and increasing like the quality of work that's being done in the workforce. I'm encouraging a lot of our team to use like inline Grammarly, inline AI, and it's increasing the quality of work. Like we can communicate with our clients better. We can generate content better. We can create plans better. Now I don't have to be a project manager. I can have ChatGPT put together a project plan for me based on where I want to go with the business. And people are going to start building inline tools for that. And micro SaaS is based on that. And so I think the quality of work will get better, but it's scary for humanity for sure.
What do you think it means for developers or people who are making these products?
Yeah. I think for a lot of like front end developers, it will make developers move a lot faster.
Hmm.
Um, there are agencies out there who are like requiring their developers to pass like a GitHub Copilot like exam to make them 10x engineers. Um, and of course, with Flutterflow and everything, like I do think the barrier of entry to become a front end developer will decrease a lot.
Hmm.
The barrier of entry to become an engineer will decrease a lot. But like you still have to know how to problem solve, and not everybody can problem solve with the same mindset. Um, and that's really what's going to set you apart is your problem solving ability.
Hmm.
You can't just be a random person with zero problem solving experience and then use AI to create code. You need to be able to debug what's going on, understand like why an error occurred because ChatGPT won't give you the right answer every time. Um, so I do think like the entry level jobs, the barrier of entry will decrease, but I don't think that means that the quality of people will decrease. I think the quality of people will actually increase because those people who know how to problem solve will actually become better problem solvers with AI. The smaller problems will become easier to solve, and then they'll be challenged with larger problems, which will make them better engineers.
Hmm. I could see that. Yeah. I would go even as far as to say one level deeper that we won't need a lot of the small, like junior or mid level engineers. Because why do
Okay.
you like the AI is going to have decent enough problem solving abilities, right? Like I said, there's always room for the best. So the top 20% of engineers are going to be just fine. You want to make if you're a developer listening, you want to make sure that you get to that top 20% as fast as possible. Because I do think like we're not too far off from just having a GitHub like code base on GitHub. I can just go and make a issue on that GitHub
Sure.
repo and have AI engineers just submit PRs, and I can review that PR and it will just go make those changes. Right?
Absolutely.
We're not too far off from that.
We're not
Right?
far from that at all. If not, we're already there.
Already
Like
there.
there's
Exactly.
definitely people who are like, open me a PR with this feature. PR gets made. Now it's someone code reviewing, merging, testing, and moving on.
Yeah.
Totally. I totally agree.
And I'm really excited about the AI agent space as well. I think that's kind of going uh, it's underrated right now, and that's where we're headed. So if I was to go build something in the AI space right now, it would be AI agents and how we can bring them together to like basically amplify the quality of the outputs and the amount of tasks that these agents can do.
Absolutely. Yeah,
But
the agents will be cool. Go ahead.
I would say for the people that are building apps out there, the quality of products is going to be raised, right, over the next years coming. I think the bar for what a good software product is going to be increased by tenfold,
For
essentially, because
sure.
anybody can whip up something quick, or like, hey, go AI, go make me the design. Okay, take this design, turn it into code. Okay, take that code, turn it into like put these pieces together. That's great, but the actual underlying concept is going to be far more valuable, and then the quality of the product is going to matter. So how much love you put into that will actually, I think, what will make the difference going forward.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Because just because it's easier doesn't mean people are going to want to use um, lower quality products, which is
Hmm.
all part of the methodology. Just to plug Ambitious Labs and Dreams into Apps in, like it's all part of our methodology. We've taken 10 years of 30 years of app development experience and built it into a methodology where we have an onboarding flow that leads into a paywall, where the onboarding flow is strategically designed to get the user to sell themselves. So then by the time they see the paywall, they can get it. They can convert at that baseline, 20% install to trial start rate that a lot of our apps that we launch are actually hitting. Um, there's methodologies, there's a recipe. Even Alex Ramosi says this. There's a recipe for every business. Every business needs 5 components. We think it's the same with apps. Apps need um, strong product positioning, a strong niche, um, a good user acquisition channel, whether that's organic or you're good at paid ads or you have some sort of distribution. You have a really good funnel that takes the user all the way down, and there's actually true value that's being produced by your app. So if you can hit all of those points, it's very likely you can build a successful software product. And of course, it's not an overnight thing. Like software products are minimum in my opinion, 2-year long games. If you build a software product, you want to see yourself building that for 2 years.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you probably shouldn't get into it. Where do you think the no-code space is going as someone with 10 years of hands-on development experience? What do you think is the future of no-code?
All right. I think the no code space is going to be huge. I think that's a place to keep an eye on. I think it's already really, really powerful, but it's only going to continue to grow. So I've been following no code space since 2015, 2016. And now it's way more mature. The capabilities you have to build something and put a product out there is way larger. You can really build a product in a few weeks, maybe a couple months, really, really something solid, especially MVPs, right? And as the capabilities of the no-code tools grow, the better products you can build. And the cool thing is the no-code tools that actually allow for integration with code are the most powerful, because now you can bring in somebody who has some expertise with coding, with programming, with whatever language and framework your no-code tool uses, and integrate with that. And that's where unique value is built, and something that not everybody that has access to those no-code tools can build out, right? So just another place to differentiate yourself and actually build 99% of your product as no code, and just plug in that code component where you want to distinguish yourself.
Absolutely. That's I think what's really cool about Flutterflow is that you have access to the code, but not just Flutterflow. Like, as the space evolves, there will be more no code builders, like BuildShip, for example. And I think they've done a really good job of exposing the backend code. It's all generating TypeScript. There will be more out there. I think WeWeb is a React web builder. There's a couple others out there in the space that are targeting different technology stacks. 'Cause at the end of the day, it's preference. Developers have preference. Developers have tooling that they like to use. They have their own little toolkit, and it really just depends on what you like to use. So yeah, thanks for that, Akshay. You got anything else to say, or I guess we can start winding this up?
I mean, I could talk forever. But yeah, I'm good with it. I think that was pretty good. I think there's a lot of clips in there. I think there's some really, really fun stuff.
I have like 38 clips, and I probably missed a few. But,
really? You were marking them down?
yeah, so you can hit M, and
Okay.
it marks clips in Riverside. And then when I send that to the editor, I have one editor for the long form and the other for a short form. And I can just tell the short form editor, hey, go to all those clips, watch like plus minus 20 seconds, and then snag some shit out of there. And I'll send you this raw too.
Sick.
But cool, Upshot. Well, thanks for taking the time, man. It was a lot of fun having you on here. I think we talked about it a lot. We probably caught up over a year of progress. Really appreciate you, and good luck building six-figure dev. We'll make sure to leave a link in the comments so that people can access your training, get to know what you're doing. Maybe even we'll leave a link to the keyboard app as well, kai.ai. And yeah, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, man. I have a lot of respect for what you guys are building here. I'm really excited to try a lot of the apps that are coming out of Ambitious Labs. And yeah, thanks for having me.
Cool, bro.